Endless Hustle presented by the Movie Trivia Schmodown. The Movie Trivia Schmodown is the ultimate mental sport for the movie fanatic. Intense movie trivia with the flair of pro wrestling. Championship matches, competing factions. MTS has the best competitors in the world. This isn't your parents' game show. The end of the season finale is the Schmodown Spectacular 6. All of the championships on the line and all of the greats play here. This isn't bar trivia. This is the Movie Trivia Schmodown. All right, we got a great day on the Endless Hustle as I'm joined by, I want to call you an A-list reality star at this point, Lindsay Hubbard, because I feel like between Summer House and Winter House, I can't go anywhere in New York without people just loving you guys. So especially in this city, just you guys have become iconic. It's crazy, right?
Wow, that is quite the title. A-list reality star. Something I did not grow up thinking was going to be a part of my resume.
I know, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to go to school for accounting or like
Public
economics.
relations.
Right. Now it's like, by the way, I'm an A-list reality star.
Wow. I feel that's such a compliment. Thank you.
Well, listen, Summer House has just become iconic, especially in these parts. Like I live in the West Village. You guys have just like taken over the city. I was talking to Craig Conover about this. Like I discovered Dumois like a month ago. So every Sunday, I somehow, when I'm hungover in bed, I'm like reading where everybody is. And you guys get more like write-ups on Dumois than anybody. And I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy how much like people are obsessed.
I know. Well, I mean, I think New York's a little bit of a different culture. We walk around, that's what we do in New York. Whether it's like going to the grocery store or running some sort of errand or going to dinner, we're always like on the streets walking to get there. So we get caught a lot more than maybe in other cities where people are in their cars or live in the suburbs.
Do you enjoy that? Do you enjoy like if you're saying something to a friend that there could be someone literally eavesdropping 2 people away and you're like, shit, I can't believe people are actually listening in on my conversations?
Yeah, it's definitely a weird feeling. I mean, I enjoy it when I'm like, walking down the street and they're like Summer House or, Lynn's, whatever. And I'm like, hey, but yeah, no, it's definitely terrifying. We've had to, kind of cater our conversations in public, to be a little bit more private or not have as loud of voices as we normally would. Because, I remember there was like one time I was over summer, I was on the train. I was going to, I think, surprise Carl at a Loverboy event in White Plains. And I was talking to Danielle about some guy I had, gone on a date with and how he was like, no, like, I don't, you're too public for me. I can't handle it. And, he was upset that fans were coming up to me when I was with him. And whoever was eavesdropping on my conversation completely twisted it around that Lindsay feels this way. And so sometimes with Dumois, I have to like clear it up myself. I'm like, no, that's not how this went down. I was talking about a guy who rejected me and he felt that way, not me.
I just discovered Dumois. I grew up during the Page Six. Like Page Six is the holy Bible of gossip. I'm 43. I've been in New York for 11 years. Like, so Page Six was being in entertainment for the last decade was my daily read. And then someone turned me on to Dumois and I'm like, what is Dumois? So I was like at American Bar in the West Village. And I'm literally on a Sunday, like strolling Dumois. And I'm like, this is crazy. They have like people writing in left and right. Like,
yeah, items like items and sightings. It's like a fan generated paparazzi basically. And like, it's very interesting because not everyone is a credible source. Whereas like Page Six, they, do fact checking and, have to confirm from like multiple sources in order to write something. So it is a very interesting dynamic, but it's fine, whatever.
So let's turn back the clock. You obviously have just been very successful with PR and marketing. You have your own agency. How does Summer House happen? How does that whole thing begin for you?
Well, I think they met Kyle first, and then Kyle was like, you should meet my group of friends. And it was September of 2015, was like kind of our heyday of New York City, my group of friends. And we rolled deep, like hundreds of friends, obviously extended and different, peripheral groups. But yeah, Kyle was like, hey, we're throwing this party. It was after summer called Back on Campus. Why don't you guys come to this party and meet all of our friends? So slowly but surely, they just started picking us, out one by one and interviewing us. And they're like, you have what it takes, Lindsay. We're putting you on this. And I was like, okay, sure. Like, we go to the Hamptons every summer anyways. Let's just invite the cameras and see what happens. And at that point in time, we had no idea. We didn't know how long this thing was going to last. It could have been a one and done season for all we knew. We had no clue that it would go this long, and that we'd still be here.
Were you nervous when the cameras were going to be on? You were like, shit, I have to actually like be on somewhat decent behavior.
I mean, the nervousness never really goes away. I mean, like at some point you just like, we forget that the cameras are there, but every first weekend or every first, time filming for that season, like you still have the butterflies. They just don't ever go away. And then you're just like, whatever, like we're so lucky. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize this, but our production, our producers, and our crew have been with us for years. And that's pretty much unheard of in reality TV. Typically you get different producers each season, or camera guys, sound guys, lighting, and our entire crew just pushes and like asks to come back to our show year after year. So we've become friends with them. And, it's almost just like, the guy behind the camera has been in my life for the last 5 years. It's almost just like, oh, that's just another friend in the room.
The guy behind the camera, they're probably like, hey, we're going to send you to Alaska for Gold Rush. He's like, yeah, no, I think I'll do Montauk again. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, and it's, if you can get the guy behind the camera to laugh, then you just said something funny. You're just like, okay, I got him to laugh. This must be good.
I always tell people there is nothing like New York. The electricity, the innovation, the eccentricities, it really molds who you are as a person. I'm a Philly boy and I moved here 11 years ago. And now I consider myself a New Yorker. It totally changed me. For you, for someone who was raised in New York and has now built a really cool life for yourself in New York, how has New York impacted your life and the direction of your life?
Wow. I mean, listen, New York is just such a special city. Yeah, like you said, the electricity, the energy. You wake up and there are people all over the streets. So you're like, okay, I need to be productive. I need to do stuff. Like you just like you learn how to hustle and motivate and push yourself because everyone else around you is doing that. So, I mean, I think that hustle translates not only in a career or work, but in every other direction of your life. You just start hustling to keep the pace along with everyone else.
I was talking to Barbara Corcoran about what I call her New York moment. And it was a moment where she kind of looked around and it was almost this Dorothy and Wonderland moment where it's like, there's no other place in the world that I could be experiencing what I'm experiencing right now. For you, what was your New York moment? What was the moment where you're like, I'm a New Yorker, this is unreal?
It was probably when I moved back to New York. So I graduated college, moved to New York in 2008. And then after a year, I wound up in LA for 3.5 years. And then I moved back at the end of 2012. And I think it was then because I just got back in this groove, with new clients. And I was like basically representing like all the hospitality groups in New York. And, it was so much fun being able to like work in the restaurant bar business and entertain people everywhere we went. So yeah, it was probably 2012, 2013 that I was like, I'm in it.
Was the acclimation immediate? So once you had left and then come back, did you feel like a foreigner?
No, I kind of got adopted by a group of friends that were here. I met them through my girlfriends, and then slowly but surely got adopted into this huge group of friends. So I didn't feel like I never really had the opportunity to feel like a foreigner because I just like, kind of picked right up where I left off.
All right, so I want to talk about Winter House. Obviously, this thing has been awesome. I love kind of the Marvel universe, the Avengers kind of mix and match of all these great casts. What was it like? Obviously, you know your cast, but what was it like incorporating all the other different elements?
Oh, with the snow? I
Yeah, and
mean,
with this, and just the different cast members from different shows.
oh, different cast members. I mean, I've known Austin and Craig for years. I think it's so interesting because like we have different formats of shows. Winter House is more along the lines of a summer house type of style, whereas Southern Charm down in Charleston, they don't live together in a house and film. So I think it was interesting watching them adjust to our format of filming. And then the new people, I mean, it was a little bit of a strange feeling going into Winter House, not having, Carl and Danielle, for example, my best friends, and then not knowing who these 4 new people are. And then also like being in the element of snow. Like I grew up in Florida, so I'm not, very experienced in the sports that require me to attach something to my feet. All the sports I played were on land, and I played every single one of them my entire life. So yeah, it was a little intimidating. Like, oh no, I'm gonna go fall down a mountain and run into a tree and hope not to die. So that was different.
Yeah, the Southern Charm crew is probably like, I have to share a house with everybody. What
Right.
the fuck is happening here?
Yeah.
Like we're used to like our mini mansions down in Charleston. What are we dealing with here?
Yeah. I remember like Austin throughout filming, he was just like, Linz, how do you guys do this year after year? And I'm like, welcome. Welcome to having a camera in the corner of your room that's rolling 24/7.
I would be so self-conscious. Like I remember Jersey Shore was like my generation of like the first big kind of throw 'em in a house. I mean, you had Big Brother and all that other stuff, but
Well, and Real World.
and Real World too. Yeah, you know what? You're right. I was never an MTV kid growing up, believe it or not. Jersey Shore was probably like I did the music videos, but then the
Yeah.
first reality show that I can remember watching was probably Jersey Shore on MTV. And like everybody else, I just got hooked on that shit. I was like, this is
Yeah.
crack. These people are amazing. But
Yeah.
I just remember thinking, man, like you're having sex with somebody and there's literally like a camera and watching your grinding movements. I'm like, this is crazy.
That is probably year after year the one part of me that I'm like, oh no. Oh no. I mean, I literally had to tell my dad not. I was like, you're not allowed to watch this show anymore, Dad. He told me, it was the funniest thing. I think it was season 4 and it was the first episode, and he goes, Linz, within the first 5 minutes you're taking your top off and getting in the hot tub with Carl. And he was like, couldn't turn it off fast enough on his remote. And I was like, good. Now you learned your lesson. Don't watch the show, Dad.
He's like, what did I do? I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah. He was like, I was like, yeah, please. Like, I would like for you to preserve your mental note in your head of me as your baby girl, not as watching me, hook up with some guy.
He like looks over at your mom. He's like, what have we done? What have we done?
Now they're just like, well, that's my daughter.
Yeah, they're like, go for it, Linz.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just do it, as Nike would say. How has this changed your life, by the way? Like when you look back, you've now had multiple years of this. If you were to go back in time and tell young pre-reality show Lindsay Hubbard what to expect and what she would experience, what would those words be?
I mean, I don't think you can expect anything. No one can really prepare you for what is to come. I remember we were asking the Vanderpump cast, because we had filmed with them season 1. We were just like, what is gonna happen? And they give you a little advice, but like, again, you just like, you don't know. I mean, I never expected it to still be on TV. Like, I don't know. Like, you just it's really hard to explain what to expect. I mean, the way that the show has blown up has been incredible. And I think it was a slow ramp up period. I think we started hitting our stride as a cast and production on season 4. And then, you know, obviously the pandemic helped because a lot of people were at home trying to discover new shows to watch. And then, you know, we got a lot of new eyeballs on us because of that. And then people just like fell in love with our antics. And I think it's like so fun because, you know, if you know the New York City culture, you know that this is what we do. We go to the Hamptons every single weekend. And now with Winter House having a second show, I think is people are loving Winter House. And it's just like watching a bunch of drunk people act, you know, like fools and get rejected and like hook up with each other is just like fun television.
By the way, when they're always writing, obviously you and the Kyle thing has been like Page Six, Dumois, all that shit. When they're writing stuff, but you know it's not true, and I know you mentioned you've gone to Dumois and kind of refuted stuff, but do you kind of just laugh about it? Like, are you like, these people have no fucking idea?
Yeah, of course. I mean, at one point it was like, no, everyone's like, wait, so Lindsay was with Austin, but then a day later I was with Luke, and then a day later I'm walking down the street with Carl. Like, it's just like, it's really funny. I'm like, wow, they are just really trying to figure out who I'm dating all the time. It's just the funniest thing to me because I'm like, all of a sudden I'm dating everyone. And I'm like, do they honestly think I have this much time to date all of these men? I mean, props to me if they think I have that much time on my hands.
I mean, listen, props to you if all the guys on multiple shows want you, right? Like, that's it's desirable, right?
I mean, listen, I'm kind of like, I grew up as a tomboy. I grew up with the boys. And I have that like bro side to me where I can kick back and drink Bud Heavies with Luke and, you know, go to sporting events and be really into it. But then I also have this like, you know, more of a girly side to me. So I mean, it is fun. I tend to hang with the boys a lot because they're, you know, less dramatic. And then subsequently I wind up having to defend them all the time. And I'm like, oh gosh. Like here I am out there like doing the good deed of like always trying to defend the boys when they're messing up with all the girls. I'm like, oh gosh, guys, get it together.
By the way, what was the first time you remember that you were recognized because of Summer House? Like, what was the first fan out moment?
Oh, so it was season 1 had just aired. I think it was January of 2017. And Everett, I was dating Everett at the time. And for Valentine's Day, we had gone to Broadway. We went to go see something on Broadway. And this woman comes up to me and she's like, oh my God, Lindsay, you're from Summer House. And we'd only been on TV for a month. It'd only been airing for a month. And I meet her and her husband and they're like, you have to meet our daughter. She, you know, is in college right now. We would love for her to intern for you. She's a public relations major. And so the dad had wound up Facebooking me. And for whatever reason, I accepted. And for the next year, he was like, can you please hire my daughter as your intern? And then the next year, okay, my daughter is graduating. Can you please hire her? So finally, I think it was like season 3. Yeah, season 3. I was like, Ira, send me your daughter's resume. I need to hire, a coordinator. And I wound up hiring her. And now, you know, she was my assistant for the last, I guess, 3 years. And she's like a little sister to me. So it wound up working out there. And her parents, I'm still really close with them and we hang out with them all the time. They live in Brooklyn. So yeah, they became my New York
God bless
parents.
you. That could have gone sideways. That's like so stalkery and creepy, but meanwhile it worked out.
It really worked out. And she was the best, little sister assistant I could have ever asked for.
Yo, you're awesome. This was so much fun. Congratulations, Summer House, Winter House, all the stuff you're doing. You got such a magnetic personality. So
thank you.
It's
so fun to talk
why you're crushing it on TV.
And maybe you should come to the hockey game with us in 2 weeks.
Yeah, be like, hey, just sitting right in the middle, like, hey guys.
Just like hanging out with all the parents.
You're awesome. Thanks for a fun chat, Lindsay.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.